Jennifer. Hello, Shelley. It's great to have you on Marketing Connected Live.
Hi, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
A lot of our sessions are all sorts of information. This session is going to be shamelessly promotional because we're talking about our awards. But having said that, the awards are one of my favorite times of the year because we actually celebrate what's best in the world of marketing, particularly in the area of campaigns. And so it's great to have you on the program. And thank you so much for being willing to volunteer your time and lead all those judges in the process of trying to figure out what the best campaigns of the year are. Let me start off with a question though, because I've always liked to ask this question. How did you get into marketing in the first place?
Why don't I jump in on this one to start? Back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I mean, it's back in the day, Leo Burnett had a really wonderful training program and went to schools and recruited right out of school. And I was so fortunate to be part of that cohort that was recruited right out of school and part of this really rigorous and disciplined training program. And so I started my career on the agency side at Leo Burnett. And relatively speaking, while it was a short time, it was really a really formative time. But I heard the client side calling me. And when I was at Burnett, I had a financial services client. So I made the jump to clients BMO, and I have been there for a long time. And and one of the advantages of an organization like BMO is the scale of opportunity is so significant. And so I've been in Chicago for a number of years, working in that geography. I've done product marketing. I've done, head of market research and social, and now I'm head of brand and social. So I started on the agency side, went client side, and here I am.
Great. How about you, Shelley?
I'm a bit of the opposite, which is why it's so great that Jennifer and I are doing this together. But I'm originally from the East Coast. In a very small town. I went to McGill. I have a BCom majoring in marketing, and I knew nothing about media. So I fell into media, and I did a short stint first on the media departments of agency world, and then I was hired by Labatt Breweries, and I was there for 10 years. I did a number of different roles, including media, sponsorships, product innovation, marketing finance, a whole bunch of different things in that role. But like Jen felt the calling of a client side, I felt the calling to get back to doing media full time. I just love the space. I love how deep we can get into clients' business. I love just how much I learn every single day. So I joined here. I've been now back here for 12 years on the media agency side running UM, and I learn something from everyone every single day, and I couldn't be happier to be in this space.
Wonderful. That's perfect. Just for the record now, have you ever met each other before this day right now?
So I have to say, when I was contacted and asked if I would be the co-chair, and then they told me that Jennifer Carli was the other co-chair, I could not be more excited because Jennifer is my client. We started working together back in fall of 2018 when we won the BMO business, and she has just been a wonderful partner. I really respect her depth of experience, her marketing prowess, and her ability to build real partnership relationships. And that's been key to a lot of things. So I couldn't have been more excited. And then, we've had a lot of fun over the last couple of years. Yeah. Very fortunate we've gone to Cannes together, and that was super exciting, and seeing all the great work there. And then we recently discovered that we're kind of family because our golden retrievers are actually half siblings. It's a bizarre coincidence, but we're family.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. If that's not a sign that this relationship works, I don't know what is, because if golden retrievers, that's the secret.
The thing I find interesting about knowing each other is that you have enough good good times together built up, so that if you want to disagree with each other on something, the world doesn't end, and you don't have to be over polite with each other when you're having a collaborative debate.
Yeah, that is important in the creative space, right? Respectful debate and having that safe space to be able to debate things and talk things through. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, Shelley, you already told me the only reason why you volunteered to be on this in this leadership role is because Jennifer Carli, and now you've given me an idea that whenever we want someone to volunteer, we just have to say, well, Jennifer Carli's involved.
Yeah.
But
That's okay.
any other reasons why you decided to volunteer your time? Because it is a heavy load, and we really appreciate it.
Well, Jen went on board first, so I'll let you go first.
Okay, first of all, absolutely reciprocal. When I learned that Shelley was going to be the co-chair, jumped at the chance. I grew up career-wise with the CMA. I'm sure so many marketers have done, and so the CMAs have always, and especially the awards show, it's always been an opportunity to celebrate great creative and recognize our peers. And have a ton of fun. So when you guys came calling, I mean, how could I not jump at the chance? It was just such a wonderful opportunity to be part of such an important organization and such an important show that believes in the power of transformative ideas and wants to celebrate that. So how could I not jump at that? And then Shelley was icing on the cake.
Thanks, Jen.
Right, now I know that Lucy went and asked Shelley and said, well, Jennifer's involved, and then she Jennifer that Shelley's involved. It's a very, very good strategy.
Yeah, good strategy. I am a recent member of the CMA. I only joined, we joined about a year and a bit ago, and I have been really impressed by the association, by the engagement from the members, the opportunities, the information and best practice sharing, and then of course, there are the awards that are iconic, just the epitome of the representation of great Canadian work. And last, I think it was November, was the award show, or was it early December? I can't remember, but virtual, but it was such a great experience. I was so impressed by how you pulled that event off and kept the energy and the excitement and the celebration. We were fortunate enough to be recipients of a number of awards, and it just really the level of work that was represented there was so impressive. So just to have any role at all, let alone co-chair with Jennifer, is just an amazing opportunity. So thank you.
I love both your enthusiasm. The program is really about standards of excellence, and it's fun, and it's a celebration for sure, but its underpinning is all about great marketing and standards. And I was wondering if you had any views already about what makes for an outstanding campaign, an outstanding excellent example of excellence.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. It really starts with a great story, and a story that's connected. So you need to start with a clear business challenge, uncover a really insightful strategy, provide creative articulation that brings that to life, and then really have the results. So it's all got to be together to be an award-winning creative articulation and case. So for me, that's important. It's not just the creative idea. It has to be connected to the business challenge all the way through. So build those great stories.
Wonderful.
I can't top that. Ditto what she said. And I'll just punctuate the point about results, right? We're not in this business to just, do great work. It's to do great work that drives results. And I think that's a really important point that Shelley made. And I think it's something that the CMA upholds as well. So.
Yeah, I know for sure. And I know that the two of you co-wrote a blog, call it, about creativity and standing out. And I enjoyed it. To me, great creative has some business application. It can be more efficient, more productive. Do you agree or disagree, and why?
I vehemently, I'm going to jump in on this one, Shelley, because I vehemently agree. And John, I have to tell you, I struggle that the industry still has this debate and we still talk about it because the data abounds, right? And the research is deep in terms of supporting the fact that great creative drives business outcomes. It's clear. Great creative punches above its weight, and it's for the reasons that you mentioned, right? It stands out, it's more memorable, it builds brand recognition, it's more cost effective.
Right.
People aren't remembering the number of ads we put out there, they remember the impression we leave. And that's our job, right? To do that. And when we do that well, you know, we put the ingredients in it the way that Shelley talked about, we get the business outcomes, and the data is irrefutable on that fact.
Great.
I love stats, you know, media is half about the numbers, but WARC, the World Advertising and Research Center, you know, studied thousands of award-winning cases. And, you know, they found that award-winning cases delivered were 70% more effective than non-award-winning cases. I mean, just there, right? So you want results, creativity will drive that.
Tremendous. Is there any, though, tension between, have you found tension between great strategy and great creative? And how do you make sure, if you got this fantastic creative idea, that it makes sense for a given strategy?
Creative for creative sake. I actually don't see the tension, you know, if you're doing it well, if you're doing it right. I don't see the tension. I see it really complementary, going back to something that Shelley said earlier, right, around the whole and the connected pieces. And those are two pieces that need to be connected. Otherwise, you're not creating great creative. You're creating creative for creative sake, but you're not creating great creative, award-winning creative, a creative that drives business outcomes. And that's what we're talking about with the CMAs. I can't think of great creative that isn't strategic at its core.
Right.
It's just a fundamental underpinning. So that's, I don't see a tension. I see a complementary relationship.
Great. I guess it depends on great partnerships with agencies so that they understand in their pursuit of something very creative that it has a link strategically.
Linked to all the activity, right? And I think, you know, we talked at the beginning about respectful debate. There should be an area where you talk things through, right? Otherwise, you know, things will be pushed in that don't fit, that everybody doesn't think is going to deliver on the business challenge or fit the right format, or et cetera. And to Jennifer's point, be creative for creative sake. And you can't have that. So all members of an IMC or, you know, a collaborative partnership should feel comfortable debating whether it's the right fit, it's the right approach, et cetera. That's okay. So I don't know if that references tension, but respectful debate is not a bad thing to have.
Yeah, that's great. So with all that said, why don't we see more creative campaigns today? And I know that this answer is going to be specifically related to the environment that we're currently in. Is there fear? Is there a little bit of not understanding the environment for getting it across the finish line with a CEO or with a CMO? What is the key thing that you need to do as a CMO or advertising executive to get a strong creative approach across the finish line?
You know, we talk about this a lot and I've seen it, and both Jennifer and I've been in the business quite a while. Won't say how long, but quite a while. And I've seen the same organization go from being a very conservative, by the book, everything's ROI driven, which isn't the worst thing, but then have no creativity, to then moving into being the most creative company, you know, you work with. And it really becomes about the space, giving people the room, the safety, the support, the room to fail. That when you try and test and learn from something, it's not the worst thing if it fails, because you will learn and grow from that. And so that safe space with without fear, you mentioned it, John, is
Right.
really important in a culture. And so, and you can, if you have, and I've unfortunately seen it where if you have an organization, a marketing team that's fearful that if they don't make exactly the numbers and the, and if a test doesn't succeed, that, terrible things are going to happen, you won't have creativity, no matter how creative the partners are.
Right.
And you can have the same agencies that do all of the award-winning, so much award-winning work on one client, and then you say, well, why aren't they doing award-winning work on mine? And you got to see what the culture's like and how comfortable and safe people feel to explore, to experiment, to fail. And I think that's a really important thing, to have that culture of creativity.
No, good, very good.
I have to punctuate what Shelley said because it's so important and she articulated it so beautifully. But I do want to add one thing as well. This environment that gives you permission to fail, to build great ideas, I think is so critical. There are companies today that are building creativity into their business models, which I find completely fascinating and really interesting, and they're doing great stuff. I'm going to do what you said at the beginning of this, John, that this was about promotion. So I'm going to do a shameless plug of BMO because we did very well at the CMA Awards last year, and in partnership with UM and FCB. But it is because of exactly what Shelley said, right? BMO has created this environment where not only are they giving us permission to be bold, they are demanding it. And you need that environment so that people like me and my teams feel empowered and safe, have the psychological safety to go out and be bold. And the one thing that I want to add to what Shelley said is you cannot do this without incredible teams. So both internally and externally, we cannot do what we do without the incredible partnerships that we have with our media agencies and our creative agencies. And for me, shameless plug, that is led by Shelley, as you know, and FCB. And both of them, I feel I have such a sense of gratitude that they are shoulder to shoulder with me every day, sweating what I sweat. Yeah. And that is a recipe. And then, I know Shelley's team internally, how incredibly strong they are, and my team. And to me, that's the recipe, right? You've got to make sure internally you've got the right people who share the philosophy, have the skill set, believe in the transformative power of big ideas. You got to have the partners that are going to do that alongside of you. And then importantly, the environment that gives you permission to do it.
One of the questions that came in while we were talking was a little bit on this topic, and it's saying, like, is it hard to be creative during this pandemic? Is it harder to collaborate virtually and versus the old way of being in the same room and having the whiteboards going and the wall charts and all that stuff? How you found that?
I can jump in on that. It was at first that was one of my big fears, right? Of we've done such creative work, with BMO and with many, many other clients, that how would this impact our culture of creativity at UM? And we have, there are platforms that help with workshopping, ideation, and because we have that culture doesn't change because you're virtual in terms of that safe space, the support you're getting from people. So that permission to fail, to explore is still there, even though it's virtual. And so it takes a little bit more effort to get everybody organized. But I think we've all experienced, right? Like that we feel now very comfortable in this space, and the ideation can happen, and you can build off each other through that. So what I'm really looking forward to in judging the awards that come in, is seeing all that amazing creativity that came in during a pandemic. Like how amazing, how unique is that in our experience, right, Jennifer, that we get to see that firsthand across, hopefully hundreds of submissions that bring out creativity during a pandemic. What a unique experience for all of us in Canada, and particularly the judging committee.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I have been, I share the same perspective as Shelley. I was nervous at the beginning. I've been so blown away and impressed with how our partners, our teams have adapted,
Yes.
and have not missed a beat. But I don't like it. Like I'll just put it out there. I am an off the chart extrovert. I cannot wait to get back and do all the things that you talked about, John, right? Like just be in person and collaborate and whiteboard and be in the same space and hug people again. And I don't know how long, that might be a little bit further out, but I don't like it. So we've not missed a beat, but I can't wait to get back in person and see everybody again.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I say to everybody, if we could just be in a room laughing and doing this work, how much more energy, but you know, you bring it and we've adapted and we're making the best of it. And as I said, there's going to be, you know, things that are uncovered that we would never have uncovered before because we've never been in this experience before.
And maximize your environment that you're in right now and do the best you can and maybe take some value out of it. I do want to ask if there's anything going on that's new. I mean, have you tried to keep things relatively consistent year to year because of the times we're in? But there's COVID. Anything to say about what people should do or be aware of for this award submission?
I think building that story like we talked about, that story still stands, right? You still need to have the link between the business challenge and the strategy and the creativity and the results. So that all stays the same. The challenges, the business challenges, I'm going to assume are going to be very different. The speed at which things change, the different consumer experience. So all of that's very new. While the categories and disciplines that you can submit in are very relatively, I think they're untouched since last year. The work is going to be very different. And I will point out there is one change, which is you aren't required to have a case video this year. So given the constraints of COVID and the CMA has nicely said, well, that is optional to provide a case video. So that is one change.
Good. Yeah. So at the very front end, I asked you how you got into the business of marketing. And we have, as part of our audience today, we have 5,000 people signed up now for CMA Next, which is our portal, which goes out to support people coming out of universities and colleges and wanting to go into a career of marketing. And so I'm going to ask each of you to end the session today by pitching whether you should go client or agency, brand or agency. Who wants to go first?
I love it. I'll take this one first. You're trying to start something between Shelley and I, aren't you? Okay, I remember when Shelley talked about constructive debate. What's really interesting to me is that Shelley started, we talked about this, Shelley started client and then went agency, and I started agency and then went client. And to me, what that says is there's no right model, right? And I think for our young folks out there, what's important is to understand where you're best going to fit, right? So what is it that gets you excited in the morning? Where does your skill set best lean? What is the environment where you can bring your best self and do your best work? And I loved both experiences, I really did. But there were a couple of things that tilted me to the client side. And one was sort of internal factors and one was an external factor. So the internal factor is I am a bit of a control freak. So going to confess that now. There is something I really like about being on the other side of the table, making the decision. So if you have control freak tendencies, client side is for you. The other thing, external factors, there's this adage in the business, we kind of say it amongst ourselves when we have cocktails, but I'm going to put it out there, is that advertising is a great business if it weren't for the clients. I said it. And so I struggled a little bit to have so much of my job satisfaction dependent on clients who had the control.
Right.
And so my advice for the next gen folks in our audience is, if you go client side or when you go client side, don't be an do not be. And when
we're not going to
I don't care. I I don't care. It's the best advice I'm going to give. It's the best advice I'm going to give.
That's
We
great.
talked about great creative. You cannot get to great creative without a powerful relationship with your agency partners, right? And when people talk to me and complain about complain about agencies and want to fire their agencies, my first question is, what type of client are you? And what have you done to contribute to the relationship and to the output of the work? And so if you're a terrible client, it doesn't matter how renowned your agency is. You're not going to get to great work. So be a great client. If you're going to be a client, and I love it, I recommend it, but I'm going to end with advice. If you're going to be a client, please be a great client. Don't keep your agency at arm's length. Be clear in what you're looking for, be respectful, and have that constructive debate that Shelley talked about.
I totally agree.
All right, Shelley. Over
Shelley,
to you.
you're going to
Pitch
get
it.
kind of the last word. So
Didn't I say at the beginning how excited I was to co-chair with Jennifer because she creates these great partnerships? So now you see it and why. So I loved, just like Jennifer, I loved both sides. I loved being client side. I loved being immersed in that business. I love the beer business. The people we worked with and just understanding everything about that business. But then I also love the media space, and I went with my gut and I found, what is my happy place? And for me, I really love the media space and the ability to work in that every single day across many different clients. And Jennifer's right. Great clients are great. And so be a great client. But the agency teams, they're in this business to do great work on client business. So bring them in, make them part of it, make them part of that partnership. But I will say, it is a very rewarding experience to be on agency side as well, because you can have an impact across many different clients, and you get to see the inner workings of many different categories and clients and brands, and see them grow and see the marketers grow and flourish. And it's just so rewarding to have that variety and expanse, and then also to really know your space and grow in that. So there is no wrong answer to Jennifer's point. Just go with, what your passion is and where your happy place is.
That's great. Thank you very much. And thanks so much for the conversation. Lots of energy today. I love that. And good luck. Let's make this the best awards program ever. And I think we have a good shot at it.